Hey guys, I'm continuing the discussion on the divorce saga. So where I last left off, I had filed the motion. The motion was heard over the phone, believe it or not, and then the judge just said he'll fax in his decision at the end of the day. So this is where it starts to get crazy. So I'm on pins and needles, waiting to see what this judge's decision is so that I can get access back to the house where my children are that I've been locked out of. At the same time, my ex files a cross motion asking for an enormous amount of temporary spousal support, which is literally almost an impossible task. And at the same time, also asking for some weird parenting arrangements where I can only come to the house twice a week for dinner from 6 to 8 p.m. or something to that effect. But just all kinds of craziness goes into these things. So we finally get the motion result or judgment back, and it goes like this. So I'm granted access back to the home, as I should be, without any interference from my ex. So I'm allowed to freely reside in the home and parent the children. Okay, that sounds all fair and good. But there's a caveat in there that says that the plaintiff, meaning me, the husband, is allowed to have private parenting time with the children on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sundays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So what does that actually mean? Which one is it? Do I have free access to the children because I'm living in the home? Or am I only allowed to parent them on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays? But it doesn't make sense because I live in the home with the children. That judgment and ruling, as I'll talk about later, literally became the crux of this whole entire custody battle, and something that was used against me for the entire trial that I'll talk about in later videos. But it was a ridiculous order that literally made no sense. So that's one thing. Another thing that kind of came out of that order, which was not good, obviously, is that when you are in the beginning stages of a divorce, you have to fill out a form, which my attorney didn't advise me on the importance of. I filled it out, but he should have warned me on how these things can be twisted, which he didn't. But you have to fill out a form called a CIS form. The CIS form details all of your income, bills, and expenses to maintain the household. So of course, when I filled out my CIS form, I didn't think much of it, so I was very truthful. That's my nature. When my ex filled out her CIS form, she inflated the values of everything so astronomically that it made it seem as though we lived some extravagant life where the cost of living was so high, and therefore she needed temporary spousal support and all expenses covered. So the judge looked at her CIS. I'm not even sure if he looked at my CIS entries, and immediately awarded that I had to maintain all household expenses, which equated to, I'm not trying to throw numbers out there, but this literally equated to about $10,000 per month. I kid you not. I had to maintain about $10,000 per month in expenses. In addition to that, I had to pay my ex something called pendent light or pendente lite support. This is temporary spousal support. I had to give her $250, I believe, every week, or was it every other week? I'm not sure. But the whole point was that I got shafted because she inflated her CIS so high. It made it seem as though my income was so exorbitant, and our living expenses were so high that I now had to fork over this money in addition every month for the duration of the divorce until we finalize the trial. That can last 1, 2, 3, 4 years. I'll talk about that later. Another thing that came out of it was that I had to forward her $7,500 cash within 1 week to reimburse her for retaining an attorney. Literally ridiculous stuff. I was like shocked and in tears when I got this order back. I was happy, obviously, because I'm in the house again with my children. But on the other hand, the financial thing was literally impossible. I blame my attorney for that 100%. He didn't warn me about the CIS and how people inflate it. He didn't warn me that she was going to file a cross motion and ask for temporary spousal support during the midst of the divorce. He didn't warn me that there was such a thing called pendente lite temporary spousal support. He didn't warn me that I could be on the hook for every possible expense that she could document and pull out the woodwork. This is how deep it goes. She was so vindictive that she had a student loan that was about 80 grand in the hole. She hadn't paid it for about 6 to 7 years because it was in deferment, which is a common practice. So on her CIS statement, she lied and basically said that her student loan is out of deferment and it requires a payment of $700 per month. So the judge just looked at it and said, okay, he's on the hook for $700 per month. It's literally that easy as a guy or anyone who's the higher earner to get shafted when it comes to motions, temporary support, and judgment orders in these types of situations when going through a divorce. So now I'm back in the home. I somehow have to scrape up the money to cover every possible expense. Now, you can do the math. $10,000 per month times 12 months, that's 120 grand a year. So hopefully I have to make sure that my salary is at minimum 120 grand a year in order just to scrape by and somehow survive during this divorce, which was very difficult. It's just literally insane as this stuff comes back to me. I really don't wish this on anybody. But I'll continue the story in a future video.